Welcome to Mama T Energy. I'm Tiara, aka Mama T, and I invite you on a journey to loving your life through stories, channeled messages, and energy work. I love life, and it is my mission to guide you and millions like us to discovering our passion for life. Let's open our hearts and dive in. Today we have special guest Porscha Newton here. She is a love strategist, a dear friend, and just an inspiring heart. And so I'm really, really excited to have you here today, Porscha. What do you mean by love strategist? For those who might not know who you are, have had the pleasure to meet you, can you describe what that means for you?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that. I love that question because when people hear strategy and they're like, love strategist, that sounds a little manipulative, right? And I'm like, no, anything that on a grand scheme of things, if we look at anything that's been really, really impactful, we look at anything that's really had a good result, it had a plan, right? And so
Mhm.
absolutely, we want the intent, it's like intentional dating, right? We want the intention of dating for what it is that we want and our love result, right? And so that's what we do. That's what I develop a strategy that's being able to help women understand that love doesn't have to be something that we just run around and like it's like when we talk about content, right? Like throwing content and praying, right? There has to be like a strategy for that to get you the desired result of your love life. So that's what love strategy is.
I love it. I love that you said intentional, right? Because it's like if we're just out dating willy-nilly, right? You're going to meet this person, that person, whatever. You're going to have all sorts of different reactions, responses, and experiences. However, if you're like, yo, I am here to find my life partner, or I'm here to like experience all sorts of, sexcapades, whatever. There's no judgment, but like I know what I'm here for and I know what I want. So it's going to make it that much better of a process if you actually have that intention.
Exactly. And it helps us to figure out what it is that we actually want, right? So many women ask them, like, okay, tell me your ideal partner. And they always say like the very surface level, or it's not as deep as we really would want it to go. But that's so important because like when you get into those relationships, that's gonna show up. Right? So being able to say like I'm intentional about my dating, like you said, whether it's for liberation in whatever way that is, or for like actually finding your husband and finding your king, at least you know your yes and no's and what your standards are and what if somebody falls in love with you while you're on your sexcapade, they're like, oh, hold on, that's not my intention. So like whatever it is, but intentional, I love that word too. I love that word.
Yes. So in saying that, like thinking about, okay, well, this is what I want, and we're talking like, okay, I want my partner. How do you kind of help your clients work around, well, okay, like I want them to be, I don't know, financially stable, for example, right? And there, because there's such a like stigma against, wanting someone that is financially stable. Maybe, like, and stable doesn't necessarily mean a billionaire. It would be great. I mean, personally, I would think that would be great, but but also, like we're creating this standard, and then there is this feeling of guilt that can be associated with setting standards. So can you kind of like break that down for us?
It's actually one of my favorite topics. So you nailed that one. So I think that the woman, let's just overall look at the messaging that women have received overall, from religious to societal to just, magazine covers, right? And it was always really about the benefit of man, right? And now women are saying, okay, we want to love you, but what about us?
Hmm.
Right? And if we look at the behavioral patterns, which I talk a lot about the biology of men, because I think it's such an important conversation to add to the dating theory, because we can't just like go off of like expectations and one person. We have to look at like what's really behind that. And if you think about it, anything that a man values, he takes care of. Like you said, whether he's the mechanic who has his own shop or he's the billionaire, right? There's just something about a man being able to look at something that's valuable and invest into it.
Hmm.
And when we look at a man, and especially a man of ambition, a man who's a goal getter, who's out there making billions of dollars, right? There's a certain thing that he wants to do to elevate that love. right? And if it's not elevating you, then what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Love is supposed to be expansive and elevated. I think too, what a hard time that women have is we don't see ourselves as valuable because what we do as the feminine is sometimes not something that's in a monetary space. We take something from the spiritual realm and bring it into, the physical. And that's sometimes hard for people to wrap their head around. And if you look at any man, right, like Jeff Bezos, gosh, any of them, behind them is a powerful woman, right, who kind of just stands in the shadow and amplifies him in his work. So there's a lot of value we bring as women, but it's often undervalued because of society. Oh, you're just a home mom, or you're just an independent woman, or you're just this, or you're just that. And like kind of diminishes who we are as a feminine energy. The woman who wants more is often ridiculed because she can see past the veil of the small little box that they put us in, right? But if we really think about this, would you want to date somebody that you literally have to figure out emotionally where you guys are, right? But at the same time, you're in a struggle. So can you be authentically you? And can he be authentically him if you guys are both struggling to be stable?
Mm.
Okay. Right, like who are you going to be if you guys are both struggling? What kind of frustrations and fights, and there's a lot there. So would you rather be in the ease of being able to get to know someone and stability not be a conversation, right? Or are you going to sit there and tussle with somebody and try to get them to rise, or they're trying to get you to rise, or whatever it is to get to a common goal? Yes, I do believe that we elevate and we can build together, but there has to be a foundation. You can't build a house without a foundation. And if that foundation is cracked, then you might as well throw the whole house away.
100%.
We're building homes when women are there to, give a home, to nurture a home, to be there, but there has to be a foundation, right? So it's like being able to work in unison. And I think that a lot of times women are just afraid because of that worthiness wound of I don't deserve. They're like, oh yeah, I don't really deserve, or they're afraid that like it's transactional, it's going to come with other stuff later on. And there's a fear there. But if we pull it back, right? Would you really rather be, and I know you love the delicious, I mean, you're a luxury lady, right? Like man, like some of the stuff that I be seeing on your IGs and food, I'm like, oh my God, I need to go hang out with Tiara. That looks delicious. But like, you would rather have that than like a coffee date. You like 100 times over. But
Yeah.
again, say, oh my God, that is too much. I don't want, for God forbid, he has to invest in, being able to be in my space, right? It's a really hard thing for women to digest, but I have faith that we're doing it.
Oh, yes. Can you expand upon the worthy wound? That phrase really like hit me.
Ooh, man, the worthy wound. It starts when we're young, right? And I don't know about you, but my mom was the kind of mom that said, don't ask for nothing, right? Don't ask other people for nothing. Beggars can't be choosing. You can't be a beggar, right? Like she had all
Mhm.
these sayings, right, about being able to ask for things. I think a lot of us are dealing with that childhood trauma. I think a lot of us too don't love ourselves to a space where we value ourselves and what we bring into the space. So it's kind of like this thing where I see women, they'll either date beneath so that they can feel a little bit more in control and feel a little bit more, in their space, or they'll date men that have potential, right? Because they're like, well, if I serve him and I nurture him, then I am finally worthy of what he's gonna, provide and fruit. And that's crazy to me, right? Because like 9 times out of 10, we're seeing things that they don't even see for themselves, right? Right? Or you have the woman who is like, I'm so hurt and so afraid of actually recognizing my worth. And worthiness to me, just to break that down, is not, it's self-love, but it's a little bit deeper. Because like self-love is a beautiful word, confidence is a beautiful word, right? But we can wear that every day. We can throw that on with the dresses and the makeup and the hair, and that's an easy thing. But what do you tell yourself at night? That's where the worth comes in. Okay, when a guy from around the way buys you a drink, or you're like, oh my God, what do I have to do to receive this, right? Or how many of us are afraid to go bigger in our income because we're like, I don't know if I'm really worth that. I have to prove myself. I have to perform. So being just a woman and being worthy is like a new conversation, because a lot of women think that it means performative, or how do I show, what do I bring to the table, or all these things, right? So being able to stand in your worth is being able to stand in your divinity. It is knowing that no matter what, okay, you are a part of divine spirit. No matter what, how could you not, as a child of the universe, a child of God, whatever it is for you, how could you not? Like I always tell my girls, Jesus did not die on the cross for you to be settling, okay? Capacity, though, you know what I mean? Whether people believe in Jesus or not, like it's just like the whole, like you gave your only son, right? For you to be abused and neglected and abandoned. Like I don't think
Mm.
that's the plan, you know? And so to me, it's just I'm worthy, I'm divine. And because I'm divine, I deserve, right? And that's what it comes.
That is beautiful. And so I want to take it a little step further, considering that we are, coming up on Juneteenth here. And so with that worthiness, can you bring forward that as a empowered Black woman, can you bring forward a conversation around, looking for love, but also embodying that self-worth as someone of color?
Oh, that's a big one. I love that question. One of my favorite things is to remember how we show up in one area of life is how we show up in all others, right? So if we're running around with this open worthiness wound, not only is it affecting how we make money, and as a Black woman, we already have another extra layer of people telling us that we're not desirable. We have to blah 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 blah. We have to show up. We have to work hard. Strong Black woman. Get all your credentials. Get all your da 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 da. Right?
Oh,
When we literally embody that, we stop performing. You know what I mean? When we fully embody that, we're like, you know what? I'm going to show up as I am and I'm going to be. And I know that that's enough.
yes.
Black to know that they are enough. Right. And so in the dating field, what I really feel like, because again, the message is that we are too strong, right? We can't be feminine, right? The soft life stuff is gotten out of control. Like I loved it at first, and now I'm like, okay, now we're getting out of control. Because at the end of the day, your representation of feminine is different than mine, right? But it doesn't make it any less feminine. And I don't know about you, but I was raised by very strong Black women, right? Who had a very feminine essence, right? They really held it down and they were strong, they were warriors. And so the idea of that we have to be quiet and meek still feeds the agenda, but it also tells Black women that you're too much.
Yes.
You're too loud, you're too independent, you're too smart. It's like, okay, well, where do we lie there, right? So I really want Black women to embody the fact that it's not going to come from the validation. It's not going to come from, what society thinks of. It's really for us to stand in this space with ourselves and get the permission to understand that we deserve to be loved as we are authentically. Somebody's going to love the fact that you know all these things. Somebody's going to love the fact that you're a little loud and a little guarded a little bit, because that's what we do. Black women protect. We're good at that.
Oh, yes.
We're good at running households. We're really good at running businesses. And just because we are, we're kind of forced to grow up really fast, right? So understanding that those are our highlights and our beautiful attributes, they don't make us less feminine. We should stand on those things, learn how to integrate that with a little bit of softness wouldn't hurt, just kind of seeing where we're a little defensive, because we could be a little defensive. But in love, I feel like we should be nurtured for being that. And oftentimes I'm starting to see too, like a little bit of a shift. I'm starting to see these high profile men going after Black women because they know that those are strong women, but we need to be honored for much more than our strength, right? And so I feel like that's kind of where I am with a lot of Black women, is teaching us how to like just step back a little bit and receive, because sometimes we're like, why? Because we're like, we're like, what do you want, And then also, but don't diminish, don't tear yourself down or try to put yourself into this box in order to be loved. Be loud and proud and be who you are, and somebody will catch your vibe, like there's no, I can't think, like my man, he came when he was married to somebody who was very quiet, right? She was a Mormon woman. She was really quiet. And like shifting to me, he did have to learn some things, he did. But I think that's what has kept our relationship going, is because he knows what kind of woman I am, and he really takes value in knowing that there's somebody there to hold him down, but also he knows I'm going to be who I am authentically and to be loved authentically for who we are. That's the goal. We shouldn't have to like shove ourselves into these small boxes so that we're not ethnic. Such a weird thing, like ethnicity. You can't be, you got to be feminine, but you can't be ethnic feminine. So then like, what does that mean? Like, and how much does that like make us feel even smaller again as Black women? It's like, no, I want you all to be loud and proud and understand that what you do hold is value, you know? in every direction. So yeah, that would be that, that one.
I love it. I love the empowerment that comes with it, right? Because like you said, not everyone expression of femininity looks exactly the same, and we have to figure out how to define that for ourselves, take responsibility for like, do I want to wear lipstick? Do I want to wear frilly dresses? Do I want to wear pants? Do whatever. And maybe you do a mixture of both. Some days it's a pants and lipstick day, some days it's no makeup and a dress day. Whatever you want to do, and you're welcome to do it. Do what makes you shine, right? And love that about yourself.
So where we lost feminine to an aesthetic, because that's probably the one thing where I'm like, where do we get there? Because again, like I said, if you think of the feminine, right, we think of Mother Earth. Is Mother Earth ever the same?
Mm-mm.
Is she ever the same? She's literally, we're in 100 something degree weather. Somewhere else, there's rain and snow. And so when we think about the multifaceted energy that she is, like you said, one day I could want to wear makeup. Some days I don't want to. Some days I want to wear a dress. Some days that does not define your femininity, because femininity is divinity. It is the understanding of being able to be in connection with source. It has nothing to do with what you look like. Right? Has
A
nothing to do with
100%. And then that also goes to the fact that like we all there within that we all have masculine and feminine energy, no matter what gender you identify at, right? So you get to bring forward that connection to the divine, as well as bringing forward the discernment and the action that comes with that masculine energy as well.
yeah, like we would need both. We need to harmonize and integrate both energies to be our fullest authentic self, because they're needed, right? Like I said, the masculine is like the atmosphere, and then like Mother Earth and the earth, it's like the feminine. It's like that thing that holds the foundation, that holds it all. And then that feminine woman gets to come in and create and play and do all the things, but she also can cause tornadoes. She can also be an earthquake. She can also be, so again, like when we go back to that like soft feminine, I'm like, no, have you seen Mother Nature? Sometimes she wrecks things, you know? So that's just what it is. She breaks things down to build them up. And that's just what it is. So I love that. I love being able to tell women, take it outside of the aesthetic and embody the energy, because you are that. It's just, it's more marketable to say put on a dress and that's going to make you more feminine. I get that. Absolutely. But at the same time, it takes away from the energy and the power force that she is.
Mm, so good. And in that embodiment, can you speak on like embodying the love that you desire to call in?
Yeah, absolutely. That goes back to understanding your worthiness, right? Because then that's when you're going to take time to get to know what it is that you actually need, and the discernment to feel to understand people's capacity.
Mm,
See, so for instance, I tell women all the time, you can't change anybody, right? But you can definitely go to where you're going to be celebrated and loved, and stop trying to turn this person's duck into a cow, right? Like, you just, there's no turning it, right? You can't be mad at the duck, because a duck is a duck and the cow is a cow. You have to realize that you're worthy to like go inside, figure out what it is that you need and desire. Take your time with that, and then meet yourself there and make decisions from that space, instead of this whole desperado, like I need to find a man now before I'm 30, or I'm gonna have kids. Like, that's not the energy you want to go out into the dating world with, because it opens you up. Desperate energy in anything, business, anything, right? It's a feel, and either you're going to be taking advantage of, or you're going to be wasting a lot of time,
mm,
right? So being able to embody, I'm worth the time for me to get to know myself, for me get to love on myself, for me to raise the bar for myself. So when somebody does come in, they're not confused on what's going on here, right? Like when men first meet you and you're on a first date, you seem confident, you seem self-confident, you seem to have self-esteem, everything. But then when they actually get into a relationship with you and they start noticing your habits don't equate to your worthiness, that's where it can be problematic, right? So being able to say, I'm worth the time to get to know myself, to be able to come from a space of my worthiness. So I can choose a partner who sees that and understands that I'm worthy, right? So then that energy is, oh, I'm not going to play with this girl because she knows what she wants. She's not going to play with me. she's like, it's a different vibe when a woman walks in and she has that inner self-esteem to a date, or when she's in the dating field, because she's like, hold on. Mm-mm, can't go for that, right? Absolutely not. So I think that's probably one of the first key things is to develop your worthiness from the inside. Embody that on every level. Now, I'm not saying don't date, because I hear women say, well, what do I do? I just shut everybody out? No. What I say is dating is for data. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to sleep with them all. Go find out what you like. Okay, there's 31 flavors. Get the little spoon and start tasting stuff. Okay. Okay, because too often we've been hurt from the past or something, and we're like, well, I don't want him. But then it's like, what do you want? And how do you even there, right? Experience triumphs everything. So again, you don't have to sleep with all of them, right? Just go out there and see what's there. Oh, I like how that person made me feel. I have my clients do a dating journal, right? Like, oh, I like how they made me feel, or I liked when he figured out like what place to go, or he did this and did that, or I don't necessarily feel comfortable with this. And then that way you can digest what it is that you actually want to experience. A lot of us are just unexperienced and we keep saying, okay, well, I'm gonna date one person at a time, and that's taking forever. You're never gonna it could take forever. Because in 3 years, what happens? You date this guy for 3 years and then something happens and now you got to start all over and you're like, dang. But if you're dating for data, right? You're allowing yourself to play in different fields. You're allowing yourself. And again, the reason why I'm going to say this, because I just seen a podcast earlier, right before I got on here with you. And Cam Newton was having a conversation with another dating coach. And the dating coach was like, yeah, I tell women the same thing. And so he was basically breaking it down so eloquently about how men do not want competition because they don't want to have to try harder. And I think that one of the biggest things I let my man know from day one was that I was dating for data. And he didn't run away. He said, I'm here for the challenge. And may the best man win. Okay. That's just what it is. You don't have to have, like I said, you don't have to have sex with all of them. You can just, some women just need to get the experience of what it is to be nurtured and loved and appreciated and what love bombing even is. How do you identify it if you don't even know what it is? Like, you know what I mean? Some people are very, very crafty in their approach of how they approach you, especially if you are a good girl or you're passive or, that's a rough place to be in. So again, coming from that worthy space also comes into the field of being able to experience taking that worth on the outside and seeing, okay, well, I was people pleasing when I said, yes, he could order my food. I didn't really like that. Let me write that note in my head. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really, I didn't really like how that made me feel. Or, he was on his phone the whole time or talking about himself the whole time. I'm already seeing where this is going instead of saying, well, this is my person. I found them on Tinder and I'm going to just keep dating them for 3 years to see if it's working. We're put like, again, and then it's not like, where's the competition in that? Like, men are competitive by nature. Again, going back to that biology, right? So it's like we want to be able to work to love ourselves enough to say no to the dates that we don't want to be on, but we also have to understand and get the information to pick and choose. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
That makes 100% sense. I love that. So good. So, in the like finding of a partner, where are some of your favorite places to connect?
I love that you asked that. Somebody was asking me that the other day. So wow, okay. I would say if you're looking for an affluent man, if you're looking for a man who has ambition and goals, because that's the kind of man that I go after, okay, you want to think about professional settings, right? But also, so for instance, in Vegas, they just had like a big AI convention, right? And a lot of people were coming from different corporate centers, but they always had like breakfast and they always had brunch, and then they always have like late night outs and things like that. And those are great. Conventions are amazing. Business conventions, concrete conventions, insurance broker conventions. You're looking for yacht conventions. You're looking for people who are literally in the field of playing with that kind of money, right? So those are one of my favorites. I would say also two golf openings. So you have the Phoenix Open in Arizona, which one is like one of my favorites. But basically, you're going again to kind of it's like a big golf party, but there's like some serious golf going on, but it's a little golf party, and so that's where you can just kind of like ask questions and start to get to meet different people. What I always say is you can have love and money at the same time. The thing is going to the place where the money is and falling in love there. You can fall in love there. There's like I said, conventions. I would say speakeasies. If you're gonna be a girl who likes to go out and dance, find those like really fun ones. Like I just found a salsa speakeasy, and I'm
Ooh.
God, I have to be a part of this. Or they have like bachata on certain days, right? Or if you're going to speakeasies, look for the ones that are in close proximity to like business spaces or that are in the fun places, the beautiful, beautiful, elegant places. So just look for the people who where they would hang out. Think about your ideal man, just like we think about an ideal client, and think about where would he be? What would he be doing? Take that vision and run with it. You know what I mean? Yes, I met mine at an insurance convention, and I thought I was going to be in insurance. Hated it. I just was curious, and I and he happened to be one of the keynote broker speakers at the time. So I was like, oh, he's cute, but I didn't really like want to be in insurance, and so he ended up finding me on the roster of insurance stuff. But yeah, insurance brokers, I would say there's even yacht weeks and yacht stuff. I always drop that stuff all over the place, but it's just really about like thinking about, okay, where's my edge when meeting these men, and like where can I go and where can I find out about my own city where they might be, you know? And 9 times out of 10 they're at networking events or they're doing some kind of business, and you know, you could just slide up in there. Oh, one of my really, really good ones, favorite ones too, it's the Bear Jackson in Phoenix. They have a or any kind of classic car show,
Mhm.
classic events, charity events, things like that. Those are amazing because you're getting to see their hearts. And there's always like somebody who's donating something to someone. And I love that. Those are really, really cool because you get to see the capacity of their heart and what they're really passionate about. And then you guys can meet with that passion, especially if you're a woman. You know, most women on here should have a heart. They're with Tiara, they have a heart, right? Right? Like even like think about like crystal conventions. The largest one in the whole country is in Arizona. It's in February, but there's people that are coming from Brazil, they're coming from Peru, they're coming from Mexico, and they own the mines. So you know what I mean?
Hey
You're
now.
if you're a crystal lover, and you know there's a tarot convention, there's all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking for more of a spiritual man, or you know there's all these different conventions and breath work facilitations by amazing people like Joe Dispenza or Bruce Lipton, or those are the places that you will meet some of these amazing men, right? So yeah, there's a big list when it comes to that, but yeah, those are some.
I love it. Yeah, like going on spirituality, there was literally just a Mind Valley convention here in LA. So like yeah, so like Joe Dispenza, people like that were actually here, like literally staying blocks
Yeah,
away from my home.
yeah. So, you know, I mean, if you don't want to, you know, go to the actual convention, just go to the area, you know, like see where they're having those little lunches and brunches and things like that. Like it's actually pretty easy if you like sit down and really think about it. But if you like you said, like Tony Robbins, those are always, you know, super, or Grant Cardone. I haven't seen him in a while actually, but Grant Cardone 10X, right? The one in Vegas was a big one. There was another one. What was his name? Michael Worry
Hmm.
was a
Yes,
big,
yes,
big,
yes.
right? Lots of networking opportunities. They had tons of like side networking stuff or mixers and things like that. So, I mean, while you're there getting educated, you might find your husband.
Two
And at
birds,
least
one stone.
he's like he's not just buying a ticket just because he has something to do, especially with some of those prices for those tickets, right? Like 10X is crazy. So if he's investing in his mind like that, which to me, the mind is the sexiest thing a man can have, is his brain, right? The way his brain works, or he's really trying to release something, or he's working on his self in that way. I would say personal development, whatever you can find in that space, totally do it. Totally do it. Yeah, that's another good one.
And then other thoughts, because like for example, a friend of mine got invited to participate in a retreat, right? And this retreat is actually for, men who want to be spiritual and really step into like a uber, like a masculine role and really like and find their divinity and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, this is awesome. And there happened to be, when I looked at the website for the event coming up, there's space for volunteers. So going to that, like, oh, I don't want to pay for the ticket, but I like the idea of going to a convention, especially if I'm really into whatever it is that it is, because so we already have like a common ground. Look into volunteering at these spaces, because that also gives you an extra leg up, because you're now like a facilitator in the space. So that gives you something to like really empower yourself to lean into.
Or get your girls to come together, right? Like I say, when you go to like places like Phoenix Open, which is the golf opening, or opening day for like baseball, they do a bunch of that in there. Get your girls together. You guys can all put $50 together, get a little section for yourselves, and then they'll be like, wait, there's a bunch of cute girls in that section over there. What's going on over there? Or they're like, oh, does somebody want to learn how to play golf? Like the golf clinics and stuff that they start with for beginners. It's really, really, it's strategic. Again, it's like looking at something and saying, okay, I want this result. Where do I go find my ideal person? And like Like you said, volunteering, that's a good one. There's the beer fest. Beer fest is a good one too, because you get people from all over who have breweries, right? And so going to be a promoter, or somebody's sometimes they hire like volunteers or people to explain the product, or they pay you to actually do that too in most of these conventions too. So that's also a great one. I'm pretty sure too in like your wine life there was a lot of representatives and people that would come out to do those things, and that's a really fun. They have all kinds of events, from golf events to everything, right? And going to just to go be a service to that, or see how you can get in there and get a pass, and just like there's people overcomplicate it,
Mhm.
and a lot of times we're kind of shy to go into those spaces because we don't know about what's going on, right? And I say that's the most funnest thing you could ever do. Like my girlfriend, she's like, "Well, I don't know how to play golf." I'm like, "Neither do I." You just go to the golf place and say, "Hey, does anybody want to help?" And eventually there's a guy or somebody that wants to help. And that's what makes it a little bit more fun, a little nerve-wracking at times. But I remember my first time going to like a yacht week, and I did not know anything about yachts. Massive boats, right? And so literally just being able to stand next to somebody and be like, can you explain that to me? Right. And of course, men, they love to talk about themselves. They love to show you that they're educated in a certain field. They'll sit there and just go over it with you. And that's the most, like, you don't have to know all these things, right?
Mhm.
Up and get curious.
Right? There, I can't remember what was, I think it was like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. There was like some movie where this like woman, her job was to like start dating a guy and then like break up with him, and like the parents would hire her to like get her like get the man to like move out or whatever. And she had a very specific formula, and one of the things was like having him explain something to her, right? And so like she would go, and whether she knew anything about it or not, like it would be like go to a baseball game, like, oh, what's happening? Explain this sport to me. And so that really makes it. I mean, the last person who asked me out was at like the pickleball courts, and I was like, oh, I think I want to get better, right? And so like I asked someone, and I was like, hey, can you like help me with this, whatever. And he literally just like was like, we're dinking, we're doing the things, and like he's giving me all of his tips and tricks, and then he was like, hey, do you want to like smoke a joint with me? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And next thing you know, like we've like spent like a good part of the day together, and then he was like, I really, really like you. Like, I want to like see where this could go. And, it was that person, I already had my understanding of like what I was looking for. And so I was like, thank you. I appreciate you. That makes me feel really nice, but this is not where I want to see our relationship going. And that was okay. Right. And it all worked out. But it all started with asking for help.
It could be even directions too. Like you're at the convention, right? Sorry, I'm lost. Can you help me get this somewhere? Like I think ladies, when we don't play enough in our own life, it shows up in how we flirt and attract, right? So like a lot of times women are like, well, how do you know what to do? And I'm like, if you play in life, right? You're just curious about life. You're just going out. Like that's why I love cities like Vegas and LA, right? Because you could just go outside and say, "Let the day take me." Like let's just see what the universe can manifest or create for me today. And it allows you to just play. So when you get to these spaces and places, you're like not afraid, and you're kind of in this like playful energy. And men love that. They love being the guy that's like, "Oh, I taught her how to play pickleball," or I helped her with the golf, help her, hit her first ball into the hole, like they love that. So I think sometimes we overthink it. We just need to learn how to play a little bit more. And that's where our flirtatious natural side comes out. It's not about performing, right? It's not about like trying to be, whatever idea of flirting is these days, but just being able to be like, so again, you're worthy, you're worthy. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm just going to be my authentic self. And when I meet somebody, I'm going to ask them questions. I already know like where that's going to go. And I also, like you said, with yourself, you're like, I liked him, but that's not really what I really wanted. At least you knew that. And you came from a space of understanding that, but you also were like, okay, I had a good time. Right. And that's what I mean. You got the data, right? You got the data. You didn't have to sleep with them to figure it out. You got the data, and you were like, okay, I like that. I like to be, yeah, but that's not the person for me. But you wouldn't have known that had you not, got curious and played a little bit. And that's okay.
Yes, yes. And it's hilarious how this conversation is like so synchronistic in the sense that, yesterday I was a part of a call, and what we were talking about, like the like father energy, the masculine energy, and it was led by a friend of the person who has created this sacred space for us. And so he's in front of all of these women, and he like led this beautiful meditation. And like I was collecting data, I was like, that right there, that energy, that spirit, that vibe, like that's something like I definitely could see in my person, right? Like I loved how he presented himself. And one of the things that he brought up in conversation about like masculine and feminine, and bringing the masculine out within ourselves, was just like the masculine is kind of here to allow us space to play. So as we're looking, regardless of if identify as masculine or feminine or whatever, like if you're looking for more play in your life, then maybe you're looking for someone that can create structure for you to give you that freedom to play, right? And if you're like, well, I don't want to play or whatever, maybe you want to invite someone into your life that is more playful so that you can create some structure for them and you can create some balance together, so you can both have structure and play and build and create a better foundation for one another.
Masculine and feminine, they just fuel each other. They feed each other, right? When it's in harmony, it just fills each other. So I love the whole thing of like when people meet my man, he's very masculine. He's a very like gut, like he hunts, he gets guts, he likes blood. Like, I'm not. That's totally not me, right? I'm like, I'm here for the environment. I do not want to see any of that. But at the end of the day, he provides the space for me to be my like squirrel like behavior. I'm a little squirrel. I'm like over here, over here, over here, like forgetting stuff. So he's like there to like hold that space and say, hey, did you remember to eat? Because I know you're working really hard. I'm gonna go ahead and send you something because I know that you probably have not. He literally just sent pizza because he knew myself was gonna be doing a lot today. So he's like, hey, I'm take care of the kids. He's like, so you don't have.
Oh,
But again, that's when I love when we talk about like healthy dominance in the masculine, right? It's like when they see us being too much, or we're like really honing it in and we're creating really hard, they're there to say, hey, I want you to remember to rest, right? Or remember, like, literally, there's some times where I'm really concrete in my work, and he's like, I know you're really busy, but this weekend, let's go to the pool. Let's just like relax. Can you put your phone down for 2 seconds? And I need that reminder, right? But it's like balancing each other. And like, I love that you can be in a space as a feminine woman and be in your play and have someone to again witness you in that too, right? Because it's like, oh, look at her go, and you're able to just be in your freedom. And I think that's what women truly just want. We want to be able to be accepted for who we are and to be free, not to be judged, not to be condemned, not to be like controlled. It's just like freedom.
yes.
I give him permission to play a lot because he can be very stoic sometimes. He's a manly man. Um, but I also give him the permission to ease it up, and then he also gives me the permission to be like, stand up for yourself. Like, no, you need to be focused, and so you feed off of each other, and that's what's really beautiful about just being able to be in the energy of like, okay, that's what I need because I know myself, right? I can play all day because I need somebody to be like, hey, reel it in, sister, or like, okay, if I'm Capricorn rising, we love to work, so like, hey, can you just maybe especially if I'm really frustrated with something and like sometimes I just go at it and just keep
Hmm.
going at it. And he's like, take your eyes off of it for like 5 minutes and maybe you'll find the solution. And every time it works. And every time it works. I'm like, thank you for allowing me to close my eyes for 10 minutes because I had to like come back to it. But like you said, I think it's beautiful when you can play in that energy, when you can flow in that energy and recognize that your person is there to fuel you and you're there to fuel your person and find that balance for sure.
I love it. And within that, we're not fueling each other in the exact same way. And I think is like so important. That ties it right back to the beginning conversation of whatever it is that is your preference doesn't necessarily mean that you have to bring that same thing to the table. So if you prefer financial stability, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to also come with $1 billion bank account. Or if you prefer someone to look like, six pack abs, whatever, that doesn't mean that you have to come up with like six pack abs if that's not your jam and that's not your thing, right? We get to fuel each other with what is in our natural gifts.
Yeah, capacity, right? So that's what I
Yeah.
tell women, if you want to be loved in a certain way, you look at the capacity of that person. You got to be honest with yourself. Can they bring that, right? So for instance, like if you're looking for this emotionally intelligent man who's in spirituality, like you wouldn't go to a nightclub to go find him and then be mad that like you have this very surface level man and then trying to make him into this like you're doing too much of the heavy lifting. Just go where the emotional intelligent men are and accept those men for who they are, right? So I think it's a big conversation. And then also too, like I love what you just said there. A lot of women say, well, I have to be the partner that I want to experience. And that's not necessarily true. Okay. I was nothing, nothing close to monetarily where he is as a person. And I think that's why too, like we have all these ideas when it comes to dating wealth that we have to have all of these things. We have to look a certain way. We have to, because again, that whole aesthetic thing is being fueled to us. But really, what somebody who's ambitious and opulent, what he really wants is a safe space that doesn't require money. Doesn't require most men with money don't even care. They don't care if you have horrible credit. They don't care. They don't care about any of that. They're like, she's a light, and I need that light so that I can be able to like sit in safety or have somebody who sees me because you have to. They're constantly on these calls or constantly doing things, and people are extracting their energy. They need somebody to fuel them and to say, "Hey, I see you." Right? And man, that was him forever. He numbed for years until I was like, hey, I see you. I see what you're going through. I see you outside your achievements. I see you outside of your performance. I see you outside of why people want you. You know, I see you. And that brought so much of him forward, his authenticity. Because again, when you're in the corporate world and corporate setting, you really aren't yourself. You're whatever the company wants you to be, right? So having a woman that says, I can see you is worth everything to a man with wealthy. They don't care. They don't. Girl, I had terrible credit. I was a sex worker at the time. I was doing all kinds of stuff. Okay. All kinds of stuff. Right. But was able to understand it was like a heart thing. Right. And I always ask him that. I'm like, what did you see in me? Because like I was of the world. And he goes, the woman that you are right now, that's who I saw. And I knew that if I could just give her the space, she would come out. And that's just what it is. You know, wasn't like, oh, I'm going to see this beautiful woman and I'm going to change her wild womanness into something soft and demure. It was like, no, I actually kind of like that and I need that. And I know that when she gets into a space with herself, that so much is going to flourish. I have to just provide, again, like you said, provide that safety net, be able to say, okay, Porscha, it's okay to be yourself. And that's truly what he's done for me. You know, he's like, it's okay to be yourself and you can still be loved. You know, he tells me that all the time. And I'm like, thank you for reminding me. You know, you want somebody that's like, hey, you know, you don't have to perform. And they want the same thing because they're constantly on, they're constantly performing, they're constantly being, you know, graded with metrics. They're constantly being graded on what they achieve and what they can provide and what they can produce. And it's like, I see you though. I see you though. Right. And so I think that's the key there.
So good. I love it. Thank you so much. So for our listeners, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
I would say right now would be Instagram, would be actually changed it. It's The Worthy Woman because I want it to all be branded. Or you can find me at theworthywomanacademy.com.
I I love it. Simple, easy, and so within that conversation. So, do you only work with women, or is there space for men, or at least non-binary, whomever showing up?
So I primarily work with anybody who identifies as a woman, right? So whether that's trans, whatever, if you identify as a woman, you're welcome into my space. I do, however, have a resource for men because I feel like there's a different space for them in terms of like how they integrate again the biology, right? How they understand things and concepts and things like that. He's an amazing man. His name is Raul Velasquez. He's been doing The Edge, which is an amazing program for men. It really, really helps men see that masculine, but also he integrates teachings of how to be a masculine man who love the feminine. And that's one thing I love about him. He integrates that in because I think it's an important conversation and like how to be a man, a masculine man in that is just like really important. But I know my capacity in space, but anybody who identifies as a woman is more than welcome into my space. I've worked with all different kinds. In fact, I work with this one amazing lady who opened up a gorgeous trans pole studio. And
Ooh.
amazing work that they're doing over there just to be able to integrate and to understand. And like I say, I don't know everything there. Okay. I don't know everything there. But what I can say is the perception of self, we all struggle through those things. We all struggle through trying to figure out where we lie in our worthiness. We're all trying to be ourselves authentically without feeling like we have to shrink for love. That's like that's a all over the board thing. So yes, anybody who identifies as a woman is absolutely welcomed into my space. Yeah.
Beautiful. And do you have anything coming up right now that people should be looking out for or diving into right this second?
Yeah, so actually we are getting ready. We just ended Beyond the Break, which is going to come back around. I have signature programs that continue to come back around, but we're entering into our magnetism and attraction phase. And I really want to go into that space with women, especially because everything that I have found on this conversation is aesthetic, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, wear this and go sit at a bar. It's like, no, right? Like that doesn't really dive deep enough for me. So how do we resource magnetism from an inside feeling? Right? Because I don't care what you have on. I mean, when you're in your flow, you could go to I've gone to the gas station looking homeless, girl. And somebody's like, wow, you look amazing. And I'm like, my inner glow. And I know we've all experienced those moments, It might be the bum on the street, but hey, he sees you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So being able to understand magnetism from an actual theory and being able to hone it in from your individual perspective, not saying that you have to be like Kim Kardashian or somebody else. It's like, God forbid we are individuals in that, like how to amplify your unique magnetism by highlighting the best in you. Right. So
Mhm.
that's coming.
I love it. Perfect. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience today?
Um, I would say if there's one thing I can leave this podcast with, it would be I just really want women to get their worth, that you are just so amazing. We don't have to settle for bare minimum or just whatever you can get. That's just not it. Go find yourself and you'll find that you are an amazing woman worthy of everything.
Yes. Yes. Go find yourself. Go play, tap into all of the goodness. Make sure to follow Porscha on Instagram, The Worthy Woman, yes. And then, of course, you can always find me, Mama T Energy, in all the places and spaces. I do have some new offerings up on my website, mamat.energy.com. So go ahead, check that out, from tarot to bodywork and all sorts of good stuff there for you. And with that, I'll say ta-ta for now, and I'll see you where I see you next. Bye.